Welcome back for our shared practice. You're going to take your place under the sofa there? Yeah? I'll just look at your nose poking out from underneath. Okay. Good. Good morning, everyone. Our focus this week is still with the yamas, and our topic specifically this week is Brahmacharya, which is a really interesting topic to have this week because we also have our 800-hour yoga teachers in training are studying yoga and the endocrine system this week, which is intimately tied in with our vitality, our sensuality, a sense of ojas or radiance and aliveness, and also with our sexuality. And Brahmacharya is the yama that encourages us to have a respectful relationship to our sexuality and the sexuality of others, our vitality and the vitality of others. And I like to say even a respectful relationship to our senses because they're so intertwined with how we spend and generate our vitality. And therefore, let's also be respectful of the senses of others, how we're influencing their senses. For example, in our yoga studio and many other places, people make a fragrance-free zone for those who are sensitive to fragrance. One of our fastest acting senses of the 5 is the sense of smell. And so that goes quickly to the brain. And for some people, when their brain is sensitive in a particular way, certain fragrances are very difficult for them to navigate. We can also consider other people's senses when we imagine how we light our home or a shared space or the kind of noise that we make or don't make, and so on. And Brahmacharya as a practice is a deep respect for this vitality, which inherently has a limitation because we have just this particular body that we're in, but vitality as a resource is not limited. It's that enormous prana or life itself. And yet it has to come into the density of this physical form and manifest as prana and as aliveness. So we have to care for that. We have only so much in our resource and we have to keep kind of re-nourishing that. Just like an appetite, you get hungry again, you feed it, but then you get hungry again. So having a responsible relationship to this is our focus this week. So please take a comfortable seat. You can rest your hands in your lap. You're welcome to close your eyes. And you might just ask yourself, in an honest way, on a spectrum, how respectful have you been with your senses, with your vitality, with your sensuality or your sexuality, your creativity? How respectful have you been in taking care of and then sharing or expressing? How might you improve? Like, what are your areas for improving in that relationship? If you ever have a sense that there are places where you burden your vitality or you exploit it or you dissipate it, if you have a sense that you've done that to others, you could ask for yourself in this morning's practice, like, can I get my perspective updated? Can I see this differently? Or can I look even more honestly and prevent myself from burdening, exploiting, or dissipating again? Welcome the breath to deepen, one of our really important biofeedback tools. Notice the warm welcome your body provides to the breath, the receptivity or any sense of hindrance or friction. Please raise your hand to your heart. Our practice helps us to discern what is beneficial or non-beneficial to our vitality and our senses. And may we respect the feedback we get from others about what is beneficial to them for their vitality and their senses too. We'll chant Asatoma. Om. Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Raise your hands as you like. So in the same way that for Satya, I was focusing on a particular area in the chakra system. In Brahmacharya, I'm going to do the same. And we're going to start in the second chakra because it's considered the seat of that sensuality or vibrancy, or, the reproductive organs are there. And so the sense of our sexuality and our ojas is connected to that. So I'd like you to stay seated, please. And we're going to come down into the low belly in a number of ways today. One is going to include Karmasana, where we put the fists in the abdomen when we're kneeling. One will also include using Uddiyana Bandha again. And we're going to do a few things in the Salombasana series where you also put pressure in the lower abdomen. So first, let's get a sense of what's happening here now. Place one hand on the lower belly and one hand on the heart. Come into your Ujjayi breath and see if you can begin the inhale as always at the base. You don't have to hugely expand the front of the abdomen, but sense that there is an expansion and it's circumferential. And then that expansion keeps coming up until you reach the heart and the collarbones and the shoulder blades. And then when you exhale, tone the pelvic floor and sense the skin just above the pubic bone also whisks in. And as the abdomen tones, you're moving that tone up along the front line of the spine. And do that for 3 more breath cycles, please. Along the way, as the breath is coming in, you're touching centers of activation along the spine, on the organ system. There's a massage happening in the inner body, which also includes the vagus nerve. And I spoke about that yesterday as well. One more exhale. And then release your hands and bring your knees up to your chest. So you can sit on a block or a blanket, whatever you prefer, and bring the heels in close and the knees snug to the chest. Wrap the arms around. You might hold your forearms or your wrists. Let the head bow a little bit towards the legs and the arms. And as you now repeat the same kind of breath, try to sense the inhale expanding laterally and posteriorly. So not just in the low belly, not just in the front body. And then observe the pathway of the exhale and the quality of tone. Do that one more time, please. And then release your hands and arms. And now, to the extent possible, please come to squatting. And what I'm going to do is pull these blankets forward so that they go under my heels, because I'm not somebody who squats with my heels flat on the floor. My ankles are fundamentally too stiff for, I don't have the bend at the ankle to squat without falling over backwards. Okay, so now when we squat, what we have is, if your heels are elevated like mine are, but if they're not, of course, you don't have the same dynamic. The knees are coming up, the hips have dropped down, the pelvis is not touching anything. Whereas before you might have been sitting on that blanket pretty firmly, now the pelvis is relaxed. So you might sense the pelvic floor differently, wrap your arms around. If possible, you could snug the arms and the elbows together. And as you sense the breath moving in, moving out, notice where the geography of the breath is, where it spreads evenly, where it doesn't. Notice the smoothness of the exhale and the tone there, or if it's like more staccato on the exhale. Then release your hands and now come into squatting where you're going to be up on the toes. Let the hips come down towards the heels, reach the arms forward. This is actually called toe balance. And we don't want to arch the back here, so you are snugging the low belly in for stability. So this is the inhalation, and then I'm going to ask you to exhale and roll into your squat. Inhale, roll the knees forward, come to your toe balance. Exhale, roll into your squat. Squeeze the breath out with the shape of the body, and do that one more time. Inhale, roll your knees forward, toe balance. And exhale, curl in. Place your fingers on the floor in front of you, scooch the blankets out, and shift into Uttanasana. Let's take the feet so they're hip distance apart, please. Let the torso cascade down over your thighs. Relax the weight of your head. And it's okay to keep a little bend in the knees. In fact, I'd recommend that so you still feel that your abdomen and your thighs are touching. And notice now the geography of the breath when your torso is a little bit inverted. Your hands to your knees, walk your hands up to your hips, rise up to standing, and take your jazz dance warm-up position. Now the belly has the most freedom that it's had in the last few moments. So when you come into this position, press out with the inner thighs. Let the tailbone come down and slightly forward towards the pubic bone. Make the arms straight and strong so the torso is relaxed between your shoulders and your hips. As you feel into the breath here, turn your left hand in and please twist to your right. Imagine the breath going in to massage the region of the deep low belly, the interior of the sacrum, the hip bones, but also the organs of reproduction, whatever organs you still have based on your life experiences, right? So sensing you're massaging pathways that on the organ system, meridian system, even the marma point system, you're sending kind of a message with the breath into those pathways. Maybe today's message, let's go the other way. Maybe today's message is like, may I lovingly take care of these resources. Rotate back to center, press down into your heels, rise up to standing. Let's make the feet parallel, please, and come down to Prasarita Padottanasana. Okay, so on this one, we're going to use some of the practices we were doing over the weekend. So if you'll place the fingertips on the floor, I'd like you to inhale and lift the back body to come forward, expand the sides of the waist, and then exhale to curl deeply towards your legs. And notice how when you curl in the lower body, naturally the torso wants to also curl in. And inhale, uncurl like a fern. And exhale, curl down and in. Once more. And exhale. Now, keeping the same sense of undulation in the spine, walk your hands forward to be on your blocks. When we have the body in this position, the undulation is going to continue. And what you're going to likely notice is that it has to be even more intimate to the spine and the body because the movements will be less, they'll be more subtle. So with your inhale, sense the movement of the torso and the back body rising kind of towards cow pose. With your exhale, sense starting at the pelvic floor, this imaginary cat pose inside Prasarita Padottanasana. On the inhale, slide the pubic bone back, allow the breath into the lower pelvis, bring your heart forward, a little bit like cow pose. On the exhale, start at the pelvic floor and make the pelvic tilt that is like your cat pose, and notice how the upper torso and the head are drawn into that action. Twice more, please. And curling. Once more. Now bring the spine to neutral and keeping your right arm stretched out on the block. I'm going to ask you to bend your right knee and come sideways. You can keep the left hand on the block too, but it's going to move in a moment. So as you bend down to the right, put your body weight into your right outer hip, right outer heel, right outer foot, and then sweep your left arm out to the side. So you have to rely on your right hip for a little bit more balance. You might sense the upper inner left thigh or the inseam of the left leg here too. So breathe in. And then exhale, return to center. Place your left hand on the block. Deeply bend your left knee. Open your right arm. Put your body weight into your left outer heel, left pinky toe, left outer hip. And then exhale to center. Now we're going to do this side to side. So inhale. Exhale, go right. Open the left arm. Inhale, center. Exhale, left. Open the right arm. Inhale, center. Exhale, right. Inhale, center. Exhale, left. Inhale, center. And exhale, walk your hands back in line with your feet. Please shift your hands to your hips and rise up to standing. And let's go heel toe, heel toe, heel toe in. Come to mountain pose. And see if you can sense from the inner arches up the inseam of the legs into the region of the lower belly and the second chakra. We're going to be changing gears here for a moment. Let's move these things, or I risk knocking them over. So we're going to come to Surya Namaskar. Something that we'll do in Surya Namaskar is going to be involving the inner thighs and the strength therein, as well. Some of the stuff that we've been doing the last couple of weeks, like the one-arm plank pose, that'll be featured. So I'm going to recommend that you move things that might be in your way. Let me just fold this so it's not like all, we're going to come on the teachings called Saucha, which means cleanliness or orderliness in your space. So I don't want to just toss these around like it's laundry. Please come to the front of your mat for a Surya Namaskar. Join your hands together at your heart. And bringing awareness to the Ujjayi breath, and let's keep attention down in the pelvic bowl. So you sense the inhale. It's not that it's the most expansive place, it's that I want you to sense the expansion that does happen there. Inhale, hands down, wide and up. Chair pose. Inhale, sit deeper back into chair pose. Exhale, wrap your torso around your thighs. Inhale, lengthen the heart forward, Ardha Uttanasana. Okay, exhale, take the left toes straight back. Inhale, rise to your crescent. And exhale, sustain the pose. Now exhale, sweep the arms wide and wrap your arms around your right thigh. Give it a good squeeze. Inhale, rise up. And exhale, arms wide, gently squeezing the lower belly. You can squeeze the back of the right thigh. Once more, inhale, rise up. Root from your outer right hip to your outer right heel. And this time, exhale, arms wide, lightly touch the blocks. And inhale, step forward, please. And exhale, right toes back. Inhale, rise up, crescent. And during the exhale, just sustain your pose. Find your sense of center here. And then we'll do this 3 times where you exhale slowly and come down to squeeze the left thigh. Not really that you're squeezing the thigh as much as you're squeezing the thigh to squeeze the inner abdomen. So follow the length of your breath cycle, without any sense of rushing yourself. Really helpful to keep the left hip stable. So use your left outer hip, left outer heel. And then place your fingertips on the blocks and inhale, step backwards to downward dog pose. Place your palms flat on the blocks. Okay, exhale, come forward to plank pose. Breathe in. Exhale, squeeze your right knee up to the inner right elbow. Inhale, step it under. And exhale, open. Inhale, return your left hand to the block. Exhale, right knee to your right elbow. Inhale, plank pose. Okay, exhale, left knee up. Inhale, step under. Exhale, open. Use the strength of your left arm and your right leg. And inhale to return. Exhale, left knee in. Inhale, plank. And exhale, downward facing dog. Exhale, right foot forward, left foot forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, rise up. Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, hands to the heart. Let yourself stand really still. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Uttanasana. Little deeper. Exhale, wrap around, arms around your thighs. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Okay, exhale, left toes back. Inhale, rise, crescent. Exhale, squeeze the right thigh. So come forward and give your right leg a hug. Inhale, rise up. Again, exhale to squeeze. Once more. This time as you come down, I'd like you to embrace the back of the right thigh for a few longer moments. Gaze back towards your left big toe. And feel into what extent you could straighten your right leg while keeping the chest and the thigh touching. It's a balance pose. Don't leave out the breath, please. And then exhale, bend your right knee. Touch the two blocks. And here you are, your right knee is right up here close to your elbow. Pick up your right foot. Inhale, plank pose. Exhale, downward facing dog pose. Let's do the sequence with the right arm for one-legged plank pose. So inhale, forward to plank again. Exhale, right knee up. Inhale, step under. Exhale, open. Inhale, return. Exhale, right knee to your elbow. Inhale, plank. Exhale, downward dog. Okay, step your left foot forward, please. Press into your left outer heel. Rise up to your crescent. And exhale to embrace the left thigh. Curl down. Inhale, rise up. Keep the left outer hip, the pelvic floor, the left inner belly, left outer heel really stable. So your pelvis has the confidence to rotate over the left thigh bone because the left thigh bone is stable. One more time. We're going to stay down for a time on this one. So gaze back at your right big toe. And practice to what extent you might be able to straighten your left leg a little bit, maybe a lot, but the chest and thigh can maintain contact. Come forward and touch the two blocks and notice that your left knee is right here next to the inner elbow. So pick up the left foot. Inhale, plank pose. Exhale, downward facing dog pose. Inhale, plank. Exhale, left knee forward. Inhale, step under. Exhale, raise up. And inhale, return your right hand, broaden the back body. Exhale, left knee in. Inhale, plank. And now exhale, touch the knees down, bring the big toes together. reach back to child's pose with the hands stretched out over your blocks. And then walk your hands back towards your knees, and please come to Vadrasana. And what you're going to notice in Vadrasana, let's place the two fists into the deep abdomen. And just come to noticing like, okay, what's happening now? Where does energy feel like it's highlighted? Or any place where it feels like it's dissipated or getting forgotten. With the fists here at the ready, you're going to slide them into the inguinal groove and just above the pubic bone. And let's see to what extent can you bow forward and accept the pressure of the fists into the lower abdomen. Can you breathe into it? And by the way, totally fine to put support under your head. If your head didn't make it to the floor, or if you feel like your head is heavier than your hips or knees or shins, then please support your head. Rise up to kneeling, release your hands. You can put your palms face down. Please come to lying on your stomach. So what you're experiencing there with the pressure of the hands against the inner abdomen, we are pressing against the inner belly, and some of the organs might feel uncomfortable with that. What we're going to be doing now is using that same technique in Salombasana. So this is not everyone's favorite, and I do recommend that you pace yourself and do it within your comfort zone. So lie on your stomach. Turn your head to your right. Lift your hips and put your fists in the same place in the inner belly. So you're just above the inguinal groove. Your fists are not right on the pubic bone, but just above that and just inside the hip bone. So hopefully your fists are going to fit in there. Lengthen the tailbone down towards the floor. And then raise just your left leg. And you should feel there's some pressure against your left fist. And then lower the left leg. Turn your head to your left. Try raising the right leg. And then lower the right leg. And now bring your head to center. And take care of your nose. Don't make it feel awkward. Okay, lengthen the tailbone. Inhale, raise your right leg. Exhale, lower it down. Inhale, raise the left leg. Exhale, lower it down. Inhale, right. Keep the pelvis in the pelvic tilt we call posterior. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, left. Exhale, lower. Inhale, right. Exhale, lower. Last one, inhale, left. And then exhale, lower. Now let's just imagine lifting both legs at the same time. And then those of you who want to try it, you can see what you can make of that. I find it very difficult. But there's something kind of interesting about the pressure in the abdomen to try both legs together. And then release that effort. Turn your head to one side. And let your body relax. Okay, reach back to clasp your hands, please, at the small of your back. Roll the shoulders back. Get the arms ready. Press down through the tailbone, your thighs, your knees, the tops of your feet, and inhale to lift into Salombasana. And do your best to stay for several breath cycles. So we do want to have the tops of the feet, the tops of the kneecaps, and the thighs are grounded. Root your tailbone down. And inhale and also lift your legs. And exhale, come down, turn your head to your left, relax the arms. Place your hands beneath your shoulders. Press up to table pose. Put the big toes together and separate the knees a few inches apart. Let's say a little bit wider than your hips. Reach your hips back to your heels. Press with your hands so your hips are going back to your heels. Now keeping the hips on the heels, put your elbows on the floor instead of the hands. And then come forward. Take the knees a little bit wider and reach back. Okay, come forward. Take the knees a little bit wider and reach back. Hello to the inner thighs. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, come forward. Knees a little bit wider, of course, based on your own structure, and then reach your hips back. You can place the hands now if it gives you a more firm support, which is the case for me. You want to be able to press your hips back towards your heels. Let's breathe into the inner thighs. And then reach forward onto your elbows with the knees wide. And take the feet and point them out to the sides. So that becomes what we call, this was tadpole pose when the toes are touching, and then we call this frog pose. And in frog pose, I want you to lengthen the tailbone and the sacrum and keep some tone across the front of the abdomen so you aren't sagging the lumbar spine towards the floor. Feel into the inner thighs. You might acknowledge that the knees may slowly be migrating away from each other. That happens. Lift the inner belly towards the sacrum when you exhale. And then put the big toes back together. Reach your hips back. To the best of your ability, walk your hips back to your heels. Walk your hands back so that your hands go under your shoulders. Press yourself up. And then you can levitate the knees off of the floor and bring them together, but don't let them run into your wrists. And you're going to be returned to Vadrasana. Take your seat. Please lie on your back with 2 blankets for your hips to be on. Oh, let me do it the other way. I think you're going to have an easier time with the viewing. Okay, so lie on your back with your hips on your blankets. And keeping the hips supported, I also want your tailbone to feel like it's going slightly up towards the ceiling. Take the legs out and stretch the front of the hips, right here, the hip flexors. So to not feel like your tailbone is falling off the blanket towards your feet, but rather that it's supported by the blanket, and this sort of pelvic tilt is almost neutral. If you were to check your hip bones, your pubic bone, they're more or less level, not tipping you into a lower back bend. Now tone across the lower belly, across what I like to call your seatbelt muscles. Tone there, and then raise the knees up and drop them towards the chest. Okay. Lift your hips up, push the blanket so they go right behind your sitting bones, and take the legs out. Come to Shavasana. We have Uddiyana Bandha coming up, so I want you to rest in Shavasana first and just see if you can really even sense like this is your pelvic basin. This is, we call in yoga the center of vitality, the second chakra. And again, maybe today's practice, you could say, may this practice help me to really take care of these internal resources. May I come to this with great respect. And rest down in the second chakra. If you're watching water become clear and still, where the light would dance across the surface of the water. And the light could be seen through the water to the bottom. your body to really deeply receive. If the mind is stable, resting in the second chakra, not intruding, not manipulating, neither departing nor daydreaming. The mind be still. You can even imagine all of the internal processes going on right now, and they're just happening on your behalf. So you don't have to do something to make it happen. But I'm asking you not to do something that prevents it from happening. So stay present, witnessing. That rest go a little bit deeper yet again. So there's a sense of maybe dropping in a few degrees more. Then begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Roll your head side to side. Appreciate the amazing intelligence in your body. Bend your knees. Go ahead and place your feet on the blankets. Raise the hips up and come into bridge pose, please. Notice any increased sense of access or freedom you might have in the lower pelvis relative to a different day with a different bridge pose. And then exhale and lower down. And please roll to your side and come up to kneeling. Now I'd like to practice Uddiyana Bandha with you, and I want us to do it in puppy dog pose. Let me review the steps in case anybody has forgotten. So you're going to be inhaling completely. Then you'll exhale and squeeze the breath out from the lower belly, squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. Very quickly, you'll have a total relaxation of your exhale muscles, and without inhaling, you'll make a pretend inhale and the belly whisks in and up, and you'll feel the sort of like vacuum or cave-like experience that happens in the abdomen. When we do this in puppy dog pose, your torso is a little bit inverted, so it may feel like it can go deeper into the abdomen. Suspending like that, you then have to release that bandha before you inhale, otherwise you'll be gasping. So let's try like this. Place your knees, walk your hands out into puppy dog pose. Relax the weight of your head so your hips are higher than your heart. Enjoy a deep breath into the lower belly. Exhale completely. Squeeze the breath out, and then without inhaling, deeply relax those external exhale muscles and make a pretend inhale. Release the bandha before you inhale. And exhale, relax a moment. Now inhale again. Exhale, squeeze the breath out. Take your time. At the end of the squeeze, try again the pretend inhale with no breath coming in, a big vacuum in the deep inner belly. Release that before you inhale, so you'll inhale smoothly. And then walk your hands back towards your knees and rise up to Vadrasana. Now, usually this is done in horse stance, so you had a little bit of an inversion there to do that. Now sitting upright, notice your body has to recalibrate. Please take your seat for meditation. We will cover that Uddiyana Bandha again. So if you didn't get it 100%, don't worry. There's a part of learning it is practicing it, and a part of learning it is being exposed to it, teaching, being taught like that. So please rest your hands in your lap now. And when you take your seat, again, drop your attention down into this pelvic bowl here, but include the pelvic floor. And take the hands into the mudra for the first chakra. We're going to chant the sound Lam, L-A-M, 5 times. Lam, 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 lam. 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 Second chakra. Vam. Wam, 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 wam. Wam, 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 wam. Wam, 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 wam. Wam, 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 wam. The silence. your mind and the inner silence, where vitality is getting restored. Don't exploit your vitality by letting the mind wander off. Just 2 more minutes of silence. Please raise your hands to your heart. May our practice remind us to cherish the inner resources of vitality. May we respect this in ourselves and also in others. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste. Doing the necessary clicks now.